My name is Mandy. I hope some of you remembered it. The story we're going to have this week is by that author Max Lucado. It's called You Are Mine, and it's about a young boy called Punchinello who lived in a town called Wemmixville. Punchinello lived in Wemmixville. Just like other Wemmicks, he was made of wood. Just like the other Wemmicks, he was carved by Eli the Wemmick maker. And just like the other Wemmicks, he sometimes did silly things. Like the time he began collecting boxes and balls. Things started getting crazy when a Wemmick named Tuck brought a new box. Others had boxes, but Tuck's was a new box. Tuck loved his new box. He thought it was the best box in the village. It was brightly coloured, and he was proud of it. Too proud, perhaps. He strutted up and down the street, showing off his box. "Have you seen my new box?" he would ask the Wemmicks as he passed on the street. "Would you like to touch my new box?" And there he is, look, with his box, asking them if they want to touch it. What a strange thing. Tuck marched right up to Punchinello. "Don't you wish you had a new box?" he teased. Punchinello thought Tuck's box was beautiful, and he began to wish for a box of his own. Tuck kept showing off his box, thinking he was better than the other Wemmicks, just because he had a new box. Nip, another Wemmick, disagreed. "My box is just as good as Tuck's," he said, as he showed off his box to Wemmicks on the other side of the street. Nip's box wasn't new, but it was a bit bigger and a bit brighter and a bit more than Tuck could take. Tuck got very quiet and gave Nip a mad look. Then he had an idea. He stepped into a store and bought a ball. Now he had more things than Nip. He had a box and a ball. Nip frowned at Tuck's ball. Nip could do better than that. He bought 2 balls. With a smile on his face, 2 balls and a box in his hand, he marched over to Tuck and smirked, "Now I have more than you." Other Wemmicks began to join in. The butcher, the baker, the cabinet maker, the doctor from up the street, and the dentist from down the street. Before long, every Wemmick wanted to be the one with the most balls and boxes. Some boxes were big, some were bright, some balls were heavy, and some were light. Tall people carried them, small people carried them, everybody carried them. And everybody thought the same thought. Good Wemmicks have a lot. Not so good Wemmicks have little. There we go, there they are, look. There they are, carrying all those boxes and balls. It must have been quite a feat actually juggling them together so they didn't drop them all. When a Wemmick walked down the centre of Wemmixville with a stack of balls and boxes higher than his head, the people stopped. "Now, there goes a good Wemmick." But when a Wemmick passed by with only 1 ball or 1 box, the others would shake their heads and think, maybe even whisper, "Poor Wemmick, poor Wemmick." Of course, Punchinello didn't want to be called a poor Wemmick, so he decided to get as many boxes and balls as he could. He searched through his closet and found 1 little ball. He dug into his pocket and found enough money for 1 small box. "I know what I'll do," he declared. "I'll sell my books to get money to buy more boxes and balls." So he did. He bought a blue and green box with clouds painted on the sides, but still he wanted more. "I'll work nights to get extra money," he said. So he did, and he bought a ball. And since he was working nights, he didn't need his bed, so he decided, I'll sell my bed. And he did just that, to buy 2 more balls. Soon Punchinello had an armful, but other Wemmicks had more. Some of them had so many boxes and balls they actually had trouble walking. It's hard keeping up with all my balls and boxes, they would say, acting like they were complaining, but really they were bragging. They were boasting. There we are, look. There's Punchinello with all his boxes. And then there's this young lady by him. Punchinello wanted to be like those Wemmicks, so he sold more stuff and he worked more hours. He couldn't remember when he last sat down to rest. And worst of all, his friends couldn't remember when Punchinello came to play. We haven't seen you for a long time, his friend Lucia said to him one day. Why don't you come and play again? Asked his buddy Splint. Not everyone cares about boxes and balls. Punchinello's friends didn't. But Punchinello cared more about having boxes and balls than he cared about having friends. I've got work to do, he would tell them. And his friends would sigh. Punchinello didn't care. He only cared what the other box and ball people thought. And no matter what he did, he couldn't buy enough things to get their attention. Finally, he had an idea. I'll sell my house, he said. Well, that's crazy, said Lucia. Where will you live? Asked Splint. Punchinello didn't know, but he didn't care. All he could think about was the boxes and balls he would have with all that money. So he sold his house. He bought boxes and boxes and boxes, and balls and balls and more balls. He carried so many toys he couldn't see where he was going. His stack went way above his head, but he didn't mind. So what if his arms ached? So what if he kept walking into walls? So what if he had no friends? He had boxes and balls, and when he passed Wemmicks, they would turn and say, Wow, he must be a good Wemmick. Punchinello heard them. He couldn't see them because he was carrying so many boxes and balls, but he heard them. And here he is, look, because he's got nowhere to sleep now. He's having to sleep under his boxes and balls. How strange. But then somebody changed the rules. It was the mayor's wife. She was very proud of her boxes and balls. She not only had a lot of them, but she also had special kinds of them. She bought them at the fanciest stores with funny names and left the names on the boxes so everyone would see them. One day she had an idea. Not only will I have the most, but I will go the highest. So she climbed on top of one of her boxes and shouted, Look at me, everybody! Immediately, all of the box and ball people tried to outdo her. One climbed on a fountain, another on a balcony, and then another one on a roof. It was the mayor who spotted the mountain, however. Here we are, here she is, look. She's climbed on the top of her boxes, and she's shouting, Look at me! Oh, I wonder what Punchinello's going to do. Behind the village of the Wemmicks was Wemmick's Peak. I'm going to the top of the mountain, the mayor shouted, hoping to get there first. The race was on to see which Wemmick would have the most and climb the highest. Wemmicks loaded with boxes and balls began running up the mountain. It was a crazy, crazy race. Since the wooden people couldn't see where they were going, they bumped into each other. Since they were exhausted, they fell over their own feet. Since the trail was narrow, some fell down the side of it, but they kept going. Bringing up the rear was Punchinello. He was having a hard climb, harder than the rest, After all, he'd only been a good Wemmick for a short time. He wasn't used to carrying so many boxes and balls. But he was determined. He kept putting one little foot ahead of the other, but since he couldn't see, he didn't know he was on the side of the trail. And since he couldn't see, he didn't know that he'd left the trail. All he knew was, all of a sudden, he was all alone. I must be ahead of everybody else, he thought, and so he kept climbing up and up and up and up. I must be very near the top. I'm such a good Wemmick. I'll be higher than the others. And here we are. Can you see? Look, they're all falling down the hill again. They're trying to get up the top with their boxes, but they're falling down. Oh, how mad is that? About that time, Punchinello's foot caught the edge of something. He tried to keep his balance. His toys swayed to the right and then to the left. He leant back, then forward, but he couldn't stop. He was going to fall. He didn't know, however, that he had walked up the trail to Eli's house. He tripped on the step of the porch and tumbled through the front door of Eli's workshop. When Punchinello realised where he was embarrassed. For a long time he stayed face down on the floor, surrounded by his boxes, not wanting to look up. That's when the woodcarver turned around. Punchinello? Eli's voice was calm and deep and kind. The Wemmick still didn't move. He could feel his wooden face turning red. It's a strange thing, isn't it? Looks like you've been carrying a load. The weary Wemmick climbed to his knees, but he kept his head low. These are my boxes and balls, he said quietly. Look, there he is, falling through the door of the house. Oh dear. Do you play with the boxes and balls? Asked Eli. Punchinello shook his head. Do you like boxes and balls? Well, I like the way they make me feel. And how do they make you feel? Important, Punchinello answered, but still with a small voice. Eli observed. So you've been thinking like the other Wemmicks. You've been thinking that the more you have, the better you are, and the happier you'll be. I suppose so. Come here, Punchinello. I want to show you something. There's Eli, look, and there's Punchinello, and he's looking at what he's got. What Punchinello going to see? Punchinello lifted his wooden head and looked at Eli for the first time. He was relieved to see that the Wemmick maker wasn't angry. Punchinello followed Eli over to the window. Look at them, Eli said. Punchinello looked out of the window at the swarm of Wemmicks all climbing the mountain still. They were tumbling, stumbling, fighting each other, even elbowing each other to get ahead. Do they look happy? Eli asked. Punchinello shook his head. Do they look important? Not at all, Punchinello said, noticing the mayor and his wife. The mayor was on the ground, and she was stepping on his back. She had a box on her head, and he had a ball in his mouth. Do you think I created Wemmicks to act that way? Asked Eli. No. There they are, looking out of the window. And Punchinello, he's very small, isn't he? But he's looking out and he's saying, looks a bit strange. Punchinello felt a big hand on his shoulder. Do you know how much your boxes and balls cost you? My books, my bed, my money, my house. My little friend, they cost you more than that. Punchinello was trying to remember what else he'd sold when Eli continued, "They cost you happiness. You haven't been happy, have you?" Punchinello paused. "No. They cost you friends. Most of all, they cost you trust. You didn't trust me to make you happy." Punchinello looked at his pile of toys, and all of a sudden, they didn't seem so valuable. "A kind of messed up," he said. "That's okay," Eli replied. "You're still special." Punchinello ducked his head and smiled. "You're special not because of what you have. You're special because of who you are. You're mine. I love you. Don't forget that, little friend." And there he is, that lovely hand on his shoulder. Isn't that a wonderful story? All about how we have to trust God. Eli is like God, isn't he? He made Punchinello just like God made all of us. And we have to trust him to love us, no matter what. It doesn't matter what kind of things we do, how we mess up, whatever happens, God still loves us. And this story reminds us of that. I hope you enjoyed the song we're going to sing. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hi everyone, I'm Steve and this is Tess, and we're going to teach you a brand new kids action song. We really hope you enjoy it. It's got some great actions, it's really easy to learn, and it's a song that's called "You Set My Heart Free." And it's about how Jesus sets us free to be happy and to love him and to praise him, and sets us free from anything we're frightened of. Great song. So we're going to teach you the actions. We're going to go through it line by line, and Tess will do the actions and you can copy her. So let's give that a go. The first line is, "You set my heart free." You see that? Let's try that again. You set, pointing to God, my heart free. And then it says, the second line, "I can sing a song of liberty." Liberty means freedom. Here's the third line, "I run," there's you running, "at your commands." That's the words of God that we read in the Bible. And the final word says, "You have broke the chains that held me." Things like that we're afraid of, you got rid of them so we can be free to love him and enjoy life. And so let's try those actions again. You set my heart free. I can sing a song of liberty. Is that going well? Keep going. I run at your commands. You have broke the chains that held me. Fantastic. That's so good. Now we're going to set it to the music. Just go through it once before we do it properly. Here we go. It goes, "You set my heart free. I could sing a song of liberty. I run at your commands. You have broke the chains that held me. You set my heart free." That's brilliant. I could sing a song of liberty. I run at your commands. You have broke the chains. Watch for this one. That held me. You have to go right down to the ground. That held me. Then coming back up. That held me. Oh, that held me. Fantastic. That's good so far. Right, we're going to do the song properly now with the music, so I want you to get ready. You set my heart free. I could sing a song of liberty. I run at your commands. You have broke the chains that held me. You set my heart free. You're doing great. I could sing a song of liberty. I run at your commands. You have broke the chains. Get ready. That held me. We're going down. That held me right down to the ground. That held me. Coming back now. That held me. Let's do it again. fantastic. That is brilliant. So, so good. But we're going to make it a little bit harder now. We're going to do the same song with the same actions, but we're going to do it faster. We're going to speed it up. So I want you to get ready, loosen up again, loosen those arms and legs, get all loose, get ready, and you're going to be doing this so fast. Just see if you can keep this song going. Okay, so get ready. Here we go. You set my heart free. I can sing a song of liberty. I run at your commands. You have broken the chains that held me. You set my heart free. Great. I can sing a song of liberty. Keep going. I run at your commands. You have broken the chains that held me. Down you go. That held me. Keep going. That held me. Back up. That held me. Fantastic. Give yourself a round of applause. You did so good. Well done, well done, well done.